All right, awesome. All right, first of all, thank you guys so much for coming in. Thank you for joining the Karak Conversations here with Secta. Today we're going to be going over everything alternative and community building. And I don't know who better to do it with than the pioneers in the industry. So I want to introduce Osama from Hang With Me. Everyone make some noise for Osama. Yeah. We got Ella from HIVE. Yes. And we have Raj from SOLE DXB. And of course we have Jayesh from Vinyl Souq as well. Everyone make some noise. Welcome. And also want to give a huge shout out to Secta for allowing us to host these conversations here. So make some noise for Secta, everyone. Yes, sir. And with that, because we're running out of time, let's get started. Let's go into introductions, right? We'll start with the person right next to me, Osama. Give us a little intro about yourself and what do you do, bro?
My name is Osama. I'm the founder of Hang With Me. It's an initiative I started a few years ago back in Abu Dhabi. As a creative that never really felt the sense of community there, I kind of just decided to invite a bunch of people to a random location in Abu Dhabi just to kind of see who else is out there. And I had roughly like 70 people show up through an Instagram story, and I kind of just stayed consistent with it and hosted like different events and experiences on a monthly basis. And now it's kind of transformed into like an offline event situation plus an online kind of community platform. It's kind of a mix of both, I guess. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. What about you, Ella? Give us a little background of yourself.
So I'm Ella. I take care of the community and the programming at HIVE in JVC. A little bit about me. I actually came to Dubai 4 years ago. My background is in hospitality and joined HIVE around a year ago. So yeah, I take care of the onboarding of new residents that move into HIVE. So we're actually a residential building that hosts these programming things and events and just cool stuff in the building, which I also take care of. So yeah, I basically just get to connect a lot of really cool people in the city together and just make really cool events happen because it's a small place. There's just 2 of us in the team at HIVE right now, so it is very, very, very low scale. She's in the audience right now. Shout out to Fids. So yeah, that's a little bit about us at HIVE and what I do there.
Hey, that's beautiful. What about you, Raj? I feel like you've been doing this for the longest out of everyone here. So
yeah, this is his way of calling me old, actually.
No, it's going to be a long story, I hope.
So I'm Raj. I'm one of the partners at SOLE. So we run an annual festival here, which is SOLE DXB. We also run a creative agency. My partners and I wear multiple hats in the business, but on a day-to-day basis, we specialize in certain areas. So my focus is, one part is business strategy and sales, and the other is I run talent and programming for all our entertainment properties that we do.
Beautiful. And what about you, Jayesh? Give us a little introduction.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jayesh, and my wife, Sarina, and I started Vinyl Souq a couple of years ago. And we're just passionate about music, and we're trying to bring like-minded people together as what we all are trying to do. Raj has been inspiring us for almost 10 years now. And but it's all about music, artists first and music first, and that's what we do at Vinyl Souq.
Yeah, and the things that what I think is so beautiful between all of us, we all have specific niches that we focus on, especially even in the creative scene. Dubai being a small city, you are trying to put different people on a platform and kind of showcase what the creative community in Dubai actually has to show. What was that journey like? How did you get started in general, Osama?
Yeah, I mean, I think mine was kind of super organic in the sense that, kind of like I was saying earlier, I grew up in Abu Dhabi. Right. But I never really felt that sense of community there with other creatives. So I posted an Instagram story one day, just inviting people to this outdoor staircase at what used to be called the Youth Hub in Abu Dhabi. And then just a bunch of people showed up, and it really showed me that I'm not alone in that. Mm-hmm. And it just really showed me the hunger that people had in Abu Dhabi to actually meet other like-minded people and other creatives. Right. And it kind of just organically developed into this kind of event that, like you said, kind of provides different types of creatives a platform to showcase what it is they do, or I kind of create a medium or an experience that helps people connect with each other. So it's kind of one of two things.
Fair. And what would you say is the niche that you focus on with Hang With Me?
I think my niche is that we target everything. I think it's just, for us, it's like really absolutely anyone and everything. And I think under Hang With Me, currently we have 12 different event concepts or experiences, all of which, again, are kind of, my goal of which are to tap into as many different kind of lanes or industries as possible to really give a platform to anyone, really. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. And what about you, Ella? You've been here for 4 years. How did you identify the problem in the city? And like, what would you say is like your primary focus when it comes to community building?
Okay, so obviously starting really with hospitality, that was my kind of main focus when I moved to Dubai. And honestly, I was very lucky that I got to meet an amazing network of people through hospitality, but I always felt that there was this third space missing for creatives in the city to kind of bring these passion projects to life without necessarily the pressures of doing it in a hospitality-led venue. So when I joined HIVE, the vision just was kind of there and just waiting to be kind of facilitated. And I was really lucky to bring this network of people from my hospitality days across the HIVE with me. And through that, we've just built a series of different concepts together that the residents get to enjoy. So yeah, I would say it kind of just came to light through the hospitality journey. And just thinking like, you know what, we just need a space to do really cool stuff in without the whole pressures of doing it in a bar or a restaurant or something like that. So that's what's really special about HIVE.
That's beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna move to Raj. We all have been experiencing SOLE DXB as it's been going on for so long. I'd like to hear from you. How did you get started, and what was the momentum you carried forward to seeing what SOLE DXB is today?
Yeah, so look, I came from a pretty different space professionally before this, and I think I got to a point in my corporate career where I was like, I'm glad I did it. I got what I wanted to get out of it, and I wanted to get back into, actually wanted to take a break. The idea was to take 6 or 7 months off.
Wow.
And that didn't happen. I met my partners, Josh and Hussein, like 2 weeks after I left what my parents call my real job back then. And, at the time, the idea wasn't like, this is going to be a festival. It was, we want to see more of the things we grew up with in other spaces, in other cities that we grew up in. We all grew up in different places at the time. Josh, Hussein, myself, Chris. Let's just try it. Let's just see who's out there. And I think what we found very quickly, I think the stories are quite similar. Like, there were a lot of people that felt like, hey, we don't just have shared interests. We've got shared values, and we need someone to come in and champion this. And there were so many great operators in this market before we came in, before we even got to start. I've been here 20 years. I remember when 9714 was here, and they were smashing it, and Ohm Records were out here, and they were killing it. And it was just that they were a little bit too early in it. And I think where, we got a couple of things that worked in our favor at the time, which was we came into it saying we want to do this,
right,
but we were doing it on the side, which meant that we had some security to be like, we can continue to live, and it's not our bread and butter. And because of that, I think we got to build out something that we wanted to see as opposed to what was just going to move tickets in the market. So, that's where it started. It started as a block party, and each year there were opportunities that came up, and we were like, let's move this forward. And a lot of this just came through with our team was a very, very tight core unit, and we used to travel around the world, and we're like, these are great ideas. Like, let's bring them out and showcase them in the city. So, we've there were a lot of things happening at the same time that were pieces of the puzzle that allowed this to become a thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, that's beautiful. And like you guys, the way that you do it, you can see that you put so much thought into the curation, and like you execute with such finesse as well, and it's evident, and that's what makes your like festival stand out from so many other festivals that exist around the world.
Thank you. Look, I would tell you that if you look at what's happening here with Secta, if you look at what I see at Vinyl Souq, I think it's size isn't what determines what a space feels like. That's one component. The number one thing is like if you're coming into a music festival, if the owners of the festival are programming stuff they love, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna know it. If they're not, and it's cynical, you'll feel that too. And I think that's what we're starting to see across the city now, which is you have people that are in the business for the right reasons. So if you can get the infrastructure right, if you can get the economics right, we're about to have an explosion of some very, very strong promoters and operators in this market.
100%, man, 100%. And it's you guys that kind of like paved the way for everyone else to follow. So shout out to you guys for doing that as well. And with Jayesh as well, you've been running Vinyl Souq for quite some time right now, and it's so focused and it's such a niche that not a lot of people are doing in Dubai. How did you get started with your journey?
I've always been in and out of music for the last 25 years. My first gig was in a nightclub in Bombay. And I did everything from programming to handling door to running bar, depending on what situation and what event. And it was amazing because, it was very few underground clubs that existed back in Bombay. And Wednesdays used to be drum and bass, Thursdays used to be metal, Fridays used to be, there was no techno back then, it was trance.
Right.
So Fridays used to be psychedelic stuff going on, Saturdays it used to be a club night, Sundays used to be retro. So there was so much of different palette and diversity of sounds that we grew up. Mm-hmm. So when I moved to Dubai 8 years back, it felt very boxed up. Like, there were a handful of scene. I used to go to Bassworks, amazing drum and bass parties, Analog Room, amazing house and techno gigs. And those were the only accessible gigs where I felt like I was at home. There was a soul to it. But again, what Raj's point, it's how you fill that gap. And so when during pandemic, pretty much city was like kind of like it dried up, and Dubai was first to recover among all the big cities around the world, and that kind of like felt like it's a good time to kind of bring our vision to life. Some bunch of friends who met at Animesh's house party and said like, let's do this. Why does it have to be only house? Why does it have to be only it could be everything that we love listening to, and it could be live bands as well, because that's what I felt like. The live scene was also a bit. Has had its own challenges, and so why don't we bring all these things together and not stick to something that kind of like box yourself up again, that's again you're adding, and also don't do something that's already happening, because the scene is so niche. So don't do something to compete with that. Like we just try and find the gap and just fill that, because we don't want the same thing happening with multiple small promoters coming and operators coming and doing the same thing. So that was the kind of like guiding principle for us to do what we are, and it keeps evolving. To be honest, I don't have a playbook, or we don't even have a brand guidelines in place. We don't. A friend of us helped us with the logo, so we don't have a playbook. It's just like what you feel, what you connect with, what the gap is, and but keep music first, keep artists first. I think that was the kind of guiding principle for us to how we started.
That's beautiful, and I can see that there's so much soul into like what you do. Even the most recent event that you did, it was beautiful, from downstairs to going up to like Monkey Bar upstairs. It was a great experience, and you thought of different pockets for people to actually have different experiences as well. And I think it was so wholesome, and I think exactly what you say, it's the heart and soul that's going into it. That's what kind of defines Vinyl Souq at this point as well. But also just like addressing the fact that a lot of us that spent a lot of time in Dubai, we're constantly put in like certain boxes. Like if you want to run a party has to be a certain way. It has to be in a bar, you have to have a license, you have to all of these things. And I'm sure you guys have had so many challenges while building this community. Would you guys like to talk about some of them? Like anyone can go ahead first. Let's hear from Raj.
It's a long list. I guess I'd start by saying, like, even when we were younger and doing this in New York, it wasn't easy. You're dealing with the cops, you're dealing with the landlord, there's all sorts of problems you have. We had problems there that we don't have here. I've never had to put up metal detectors at my festival here. I couldn't put on a show in New York without doing that. So, there were differences. But I do think, there's a lot of real estate in this city. There aren't a lot of venues. And I think anyone that's putting on shows here knows, like, it's a real pain in the ass to find out, like, where can I do something that doesn't feel like I'm in an airport lounge.
Right.
And that I can afford, and where I can go above 80 decibels after 10 p.m. on a Saturday. The infrastructure for what's required here hasn't been here. Now, I do think that's about to change very quickly because, how does it work in most places? You're going to have a generation of people that have gotten to a certain age that have some disposable income or have stashed away some money to be like, you know what, I'm going to do something else with this now. I'm going to open a venue.
Right.
I'm going to open the venue I want to see in the city. And, if everyone that's in this space is here to be like, cool, what I do improves the quality of life in the city, but I'm going to make a real investment. I'm going to go out and find the right partners for it. I've learned it over the last 20 years. That's starting to happen now. Now there are other things that need to happen, and it depends on the space that you're in. I think, it's very hard to stay small over here because you have to scale up quickly or you're in purgatory. And so sometimes you get into the business and you're like, I don't want to grow. I'm not in it to do 50,000 people. I want to stay at 1,000 people. I want to stay at 500 people in a room. Like, that's the space I want to be in. Can that survive here? I don't know the answer to that, right? Like, I think time will tell what's possible. But I do think, though, on the flip side, look, it's expensive to put on shows here. If you want to fly talent out, just flights, hotels, what the Dubai tax on talent, things like that. But at the same time, I do think that there's a sense of optimism that's in this city that I don't think you can take for granted in other places.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of things working in our favor as well. It's not inevitable. There is a window. And we got to make the best of it. Everyone's got to work with each other. Everyone's got to be really open and transparent about what the problems are. And what we found, at least in the space we're in, is that, if we have issues and there are real structural challenges, we can go knock on the government's door and be like, look, we're trying to make this work. We need your help. We don't know how to solve this problem. And what we found is that they're very accessible,
Wow, okay.
And so, there'll be a lot of overlapping challenges that people will have, but I do see a lot of momentum here to get them fixed. I hope. I mean, ask me again in December, I'll tell you something else, but yeah.
Probably. No, I mean, we had a conversation before with like Baysam, and something that he said that was quite interesting was, he's like, we live in a city where it's constantly resetting itself, right? We have generations of people that stay and leave. And people that try to do something, they get frustrated, they can't do it, they leave. And then you have new people coming in saying that we're going to do this. But since you've been here for so long and been doing it consistently, do you see that happening still, or do you think that's slowing down?
I think Dubai is on a different ride now. We have been a boom-bust city since I can remember. Every 6 to 8 years, there was some massive crisis, everything crashed, you start again, you have a whole new bunch of people coming in. I do think, during COVID, the city came out guns blazing. And what it showed was that actually, okay, there are certain things that can feel sterile sometimes about the city, and it's our job to try and collectively make that different, right? But competence matters. And I think what we're seeing now is that drain isn't happening. Everyone's flying here. Now, does that mean a lot of us are going to get priced out? Maybe. Like, we're seeing it already, right? How many people out here are like looking for a new place to live? Like, it's getting expensive here, but it's on the map, and we are starting to see those changes. But we're not operating in a vacuum. There's a lot of stuff happening in our region that's affecting us. I think the way things are priced in the talent space is not sustainable. We're not imagining it. It's a real thing. But whatever problems we're facing, and we were having this chat earlier, last summer there were 125 festivals worldwide that were canceled. And they're canceled because they can't get headliners, they can't get sponsorship, they are not selling enough tickets, consumers don't have enough money. There's a lot of structural problems. I think it'll take 2 to 3 years worldwide for things to shake out, and we're not immune from that. But if you have the stomach for it here, you can still execute big ideas in this region. There's an inertia in more developed cities where it's not as easy to get things off the ground anymore. At least that's been our experience.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair, fair. I completely understand that. And just to keep the conversation going, like, what would you guys consider like one of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced in building your communities, and how did you tackle that?
I mean, honestly, I think for me, like, and it was kind of touched on as well, is I think finding the right space. I think when you're, at least in my experience, like Hang With Me was a very, I guess, nomadic entity that was really just jumping from space to space wherever would have me, essentially. So I think really trying to find in that solid partner or venue that's willing to kind of collaborate with you and give you that space. Honestly, Hive is one of our like favorite partners, to be honest, and we've done a lot of cool stuff in their spaces, and we're hoping to, to continue to do that as well. But I mean, other than trying to find the right space and collaborators, I'd honestly say like the kind of commercial side of things as well.
Right.
It's like, I think eventually the more you do things, eventually you want to start scaling up,
Right.
which obviously requires capital. And I think finding that has kind of proven to be difficult to some extent.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess you just kind of like you were saying, you need to keep pushing, stay
100%.
consistent, and like the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. Do you
For
know what I
sure.
mean? And I think you need to kind of build that case study
Yeah.
or proof of concept essentially to really justify why whoever it is should
Yeah.
give you whatever funding or capital you need to continue to
For
grow.
sure. And you're also sitting on a panel with people who have successfully done that as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
you know
Very,
where to go to
very.
if you need help. What about you, Ella? Like, what were some of the biggest challenges? Because how you're operating is quite different, because you're basically building a community in a residential building, but also bringing the more outer area of like JVC and the rest of Dubai into that space and getting them to connect with both the residents and also building that building as a community. How do you do that, and what are the challenges that you came in with?
I mean, I'm not sure how many of you guys have actually been to the building of Hive, but it is very much about the look and feel of the place. So for us, there's obviously a process that you go through to move into the building. And with that, we make sure that it is the right people that actually are part of Hive, because as soon as they move in and they feel the type of way about the space they live in, they automatically understand what we're actually trying to do there. And if they're not open to that, then they're just not the right people to live in Hive, to be fully honest. It's as simple as that. If they
Right.
see it as a problem, me bringing in the external community to enrich their circles, then it doesn't make sense. So it really starts from the application process to make sure that people really know what we're doing in Hive.
Right.
And they understand that. And then as long as that's taken care of properly, then it kind of just becomes an organic ecosystem of them mixing with the community and the community mixing with them. And
Yeah.
then it's just grown arms and legs. And now
Yeah.
we've got to a point where, thankfully, and I'm very, very grateful that we just have an amazing circle of people that we've worked with. Jayesh, Osama, we've done countless events together. Even Jayesh and I, we used to do stuff in 25 hours together. So
Yeah.
it's really nice to be sitting on the panel with these guys, because we all have done stuff together at
Yeah.
some point, which is, we overcame these challenges, let's say, together.
No, and I love that. And I love the one thing that I see you tackling is because there's an influx of people moving into Dubai. And for people just moving in, Dubai can be a very lonely place. And with you building this community around the residential building that you're working in, it's actually giving them so much more than they can actually imagine. Like, they're coming to a brand new city and they're automatically being inserted into the creative community in Dubai. That's a blessing.
Most of the residents that we have now living in Hive, I mean, they know of Hive, but they might not necessarily be connected to these creative circles that we work with. So for them, it's obviously a huge plus, personally, to be involved in these circles, but also for these circles to be connected with individuals from out of Dubai coming into Dubai to live here. They're getting access to this window of, new people, new blood,
Yeah.
new ideas, new opinions, lots of new things coming in. So yeah.
For sure, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. What about you, Jayesh? What's some of the biggest challenges you've faced building your community and your platform? Besides graphic design, because you already have your logo. So.
I think the biggest challenge is it's more internal. It's just about how to keep yourself more motivated because, to be honest, there's no money in this, at least to where we are at this stage.
Right.
It's more passion. It's more about filling the gap. It's just more about, I have a day job. So it also for like, how do I kind of like stay connected to the music? And this is like kind of a passion that kind of keeps me connected to music. So it's just the biggest challenge for us for when we started was just keeping ourselves motivated to keep doing what we do. After a point, last 6 months probably, we started breaking even, and like last mini festival,
awesome.
Great, we made money, which is great. But I think that's the beginning of, it's like, you know, the why is the biggest thing in this. Why you want to do this, and it's amazing. We were just having this conversation with Raj, and he brought this up. Are you in business of music, or are you in business of promoting music? You said it in a nice way. What was that? How did you put that out?
Yeah, that's about.
You said it well. He'll bring that up. But I think it's just the why is the big thing in this. I think once you get through that, and you kind of believe in what you're doing, and you find, you know, and it's amazing that it's never about you. Just finding the right collaborator is the second big challenge. I think it's, and that collaborator could be venue, that could be someone who helps you with production, team, you know. I think these are the two big things. Once you kind of overcome that, it's just kind of like logistical production challenges, you know, those are like never ending stories, you know. Like in our like mini festival was a 80,000 dirham production. We spent 18,500 on permits. I don't know why, but like, you know, it's just ridiculous. And we've been battling with that, but we know that there is a way around it. You know, it's just how different finding venues. And so it's just about finding right collaborators also to kind of help you overcome some of these challenges is also very important.
No, that's definitely insightful as well, and I think all of us struggle with the same challenges as well when it comes to production costs, permit costs, all of that. Like it just adds up, and you just need to understand how am I gonna like break even at some point as well. And I think that's definitely very valid. But just to turn things around, like I want to know what you guys as community builders, as people that run platforms, what would you consider was your like turning point or your highest moment? And like maybe recently, like this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. When did that happen?
I mean, I think for me, something that I really kind of am proud of, or something that I really love about what we've been able to create, is that there are people who met at the very, very first kind of link up or meet up that we've ever done, who are like best friends to this day and have kind of become their own little family or little community of their own. And I think that honestly is probably one of the best things that I could have hoped for out of this. And obviously, apart from kind of being able to support creatives and kind of give them that opportunity to really showcase what it is they do, but I think that element of connection is super important to me. And the fact that, you know, I was able to bring people together and then they're best friends to this day, it's cool. It's cool to see, man. You know?
That's nice. What about you, Ella?
I think honestly my point is quite similar to yours, because obviously for us in HIVE, when these people move into the building, most of them come from overseas. They've literally never been to Dubai in their life. So when I see them feeling comfortable to express themselves within these creative groups, and all of a sudden, you know, they're just part of a community here, like overnight, you know? It brings a really, like a lot of enjoyment, and that's really what we do, and why we do it. It's to make them feel comfortable in their living space, which I think is something in Dubai that, honestly, I'm lucky enough to have found 4 years later, but I just wish I'd found somewhere like HIVE when I first moved here. It took me a year to feel as though I was actually comfortable in my apartment. It was so far from home. It's the first time I've been in the Middle East. So, you know, just seeing these people thrive from really day one is a really big winning point for us. And I get a lot of enjoyment from seeing that, actually. So, yeah.
What about you, Raj?
Sorry, what was the question again?
What was your turning point, your highest moment where you looked back and said, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing?
So I would tell you that answer probably changes depending on what time of the year you ask us. You know, there are multiple things that happen over the years where we're like, all right, like we're gonna do this full time. I think.
Wait, just to stop you there. Yeah. Are you guys doing it full time right now? I'll be surprised if you're not.
Yeah, we're doing this full time.
When did you start doing this full time?
So, for me, starting like 2014, I was full time, but then because I as I mentioned, I had left my last job, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. I had a couple other things going on, and then I was like, I'm gonna shut those down. I'm gonna focus on this. For the rest of the team, it came in phases, but I think what was interesting for us to see, and it's a moving goalpost. There isn't a single year where we're fully satisfied with everything. There's always, you leave with a list of 80 things you want to fix every time you do a show. And, I would say that coming out of COVID was very difficult. I think the live entertainment industry was decimated, and we came out in 2022. We did the show. We were just like, we don't know. After that show, we were like, we don't know if we want to do this again. And it took us a little while to get back on our feet. Last December for me was the first time I left my own show feeling like, all right, like that was really good. That the team and we as a team are proud of the work we do, but we know where we want to go with it, and we know some of the restraints. I think where we saw that, we're getting some traction, and this is cool to see, was when we started traveling. And, as for anyone that's been to the show in previous years, not last year, but, we've done a lot of like immersions where we go to a city and we spend months on the ground. We meet with creators there, and we meet with government officials and academics and the dons that run the neighborhoods that the police can't go into. And we try and learn what it's about. And then we ask them to come out and tell their story at the show. When we went to Jamaica in 2019, and the way we were able to run that process and the doors that were open, we're like, cool. We think this is what we want to do with our life. And, we were on a real high, and then March 2020, it all went belly up everywhere. Everyone sort of had to shut down, obviously, with what was going on with the pandemic. But, but there are, I don't want to gloss this over. Like, it's not a glamorous business. And it's not a straight line. And even in years, we came off the last show and we were on a high for 2 weeks. And then you're like, I got to do this shit all over again. And I don't know, you have to find the energy, and you have to, like you said, you have to find the motivation. You have to go out there and really be like, can I beat last year's show? And so it's an emotional process to be in this business. And, I think you get to learn a lot about yourself as well. So, it's, at least for me personally, it's not been a straight line in any year. I think there's moments where I'm like, I'm so glad I do this for a living. And, I grew up with this person's poster on my wall, and they're playing my show. Yeah. And there's other times where I'm like, you know what? Like, this takes up a lot of room, and you give up a lot of things to be able to do it. And, you work a little harder to find that balance.
No, that's awesome, man. That's beautiful. What about you, Jayesh? Your turning points, highest moments?
There were, I'm going to again, inspired by Raj's saying that, it's the moment after every gig you feel a high, and then kind of like you drain out, and again the question comes back, you have to redo this again. But we felt a lot of love when we debuted Vinyl Souq at Abu Dhabi, Miza. I didn't know what we were up to till we ended up in Abu Dhabi, and we had like some 600 people showing up. We never thought that many people in our Dubai gig. And I think that kind of like felt like, okay, so people care, and and we didn't even do anything in Abu Dhabi before that. So that kept us highly motivated to do more. We went back again, and again it was a very overwhelming response. There was a Coldplay happening on the same night. Wow. And we were like, whoa, who's going to show up now? Everybody around me and are heading to Abu Dhabi for Coldplay. But again, people showed up. So I think it just, the community, I think, just making it super accessible has kind of like created a lot of love and passion that community kind of gives back to us and keeps us motivated. So yeah,
I mean 100%. Like, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of times when people come for these events, they see the final product, right? They don't realize the amount of months, weeks, years of preparation and research and like fights and arguments and everything you have to go through before you see and come and experience this final product. So shout out to you guys for putting in all this work with so much passion and actually trying to like put the creatives and like, you know, your niche forward and trying to make a difference in Dubai. We'll just go towards the last question, which is, what's next for you guys?
Girl. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm always plotting, always scheming. I mean, I've been stuck in a full-time job for the past few months, but that's coming to an end at the end of this month. So I haven't been able to do too much.
Right.
But I think once that's done, my plan is kind of to really get back into it in the offline space. We've been active digitally. That hasn't stopped, but I think we really want to kind of get back into the offline space and hopefully be a bit more consistent with our events across, you know, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and also scale up,
Right.
you know? I think we've been working on something for a very long time now that
Right.
hopefully will be coming to life very, very soon. So, yeah, a lot of exciting stuff.
All right, beautiful. We're excited to see that. What about you, Ella?
So for us, I would say, well, for me anyway, during summer, one thing I actually noticed from, again, going back to my hospitality roots was that summer's not quiet. If you get it right in summer, there's a huge segment of people that are stuck here, that are bored, that want to do stuff. So for us, we want to launch essentially like a summer camp in HIVE where we're going to program a lot of very cool stuff where people can access everything and you know, these kind of smaller partners that really are looking for this platform to launch something. It might be just, you know, a passion project, like I said, that they've been working on for a while. We want to give them a little bit of a spotlight over the summer. So there's definitely going to be no rest for us during June, July. And then we have more hives coming. So we have Hive Abu Dhabi, we have Hive Ras Al Khaimah. So we're also working on the kind of initial building designs and spaces right now. But the whole idea is that this community that we build in Dubai between the residents and the creatives will be able to travel with us across these buildings. So they'll be able to access new markets and new spaces and new places, let's say, than just our little building in JVC. So yeah, lots to come.
That sounds so exciting. I can't wait to see more of that. What about you, Raj? Are you going to give us a little sneak peek into the next Soul?
Probably not. Only because I don't know what's going on yet. But no, look, we're working on the show for December. I think what we're spending a lot of time on is now trying to plan the next 3 years. We have managed to stay independent in the business. It's come with its pluses and minuses, and I think what we'd like to do is we'd like to scale the team up, and so we want to build a business where we can help other people in our space grow their businesses. And so, we're really enjoying. So, for example, we've been working with Soundscapes in Zanzibar. I went out to see their show in 2023 for the first time during the summer. You know, we became quite close with a couple of the founders. They're doing great work. They were kind enough to invite us out last year. We sent our sound system out to Zanzibar to power Stage 2. So we want to be doing more stuff like that. I think as a team, what we've seen is, we've made every mistake in the book, and we think that experience is valuable. And so we really want to start working with people that are interested in scaling their businesses in these spaces to be like, here's what we saw and learned. Hopefully it's helpful. And then outside of that, I think, we would like to, we are going to start new properties. There's going to be some stuff that will come up. Right now it's not fully baked, but we're getting there. But I'd like to think that we can, within a period of 5 to 6 years, build a business where if whatever the space we're in, whether it's training and education for sports, whether it's working in the space of design, whether it's in the space of fashion, that if we come into your neighborhood in some small way, can Soul improve your quality of life in that neighborhood? And we'd love to build a business where we are part of your life from the age you're 5 till the day you drop dead. And that can be a lot of different things. And so yeah, I mean, we've still got a lot of ambition for what we'd like to achieve. I think we're just trying to carve out now and be like, how do we want to spend our time and apply the next 3 or 4 years in front of us?
Right, can't wait to see what you guys come up with as well, and super
Us too.
excited to see that. What about you, Jayesh?
We're learning and evolving. We're not sure where we want to head, but we know that few things worked in last few years, and we definitely want to double down on them. One being the vinyl record that we released, Made in the Emirates, Volume 1. It was an overwhelming response. It opened doors that we wouldn't have been able to either through our events. So we're working on Volume 2. That's right now tracking September release. Again, it's themed. The Volume 1 was more live focused. Volume 2 is more electronic producers driven.
Do you wanna speak more about that, like Made in Emirates, the vinyl?
It's like we've been so surrounded with records so much, and like it just felt like the scene here. What another thing lacked here was the documentation of the scene. So I think the idea started with just like it wasn't about like putting records and selling out all the records that we press, but it's just like, hey, there's so much great music out here, why don't we document it? And like vinyl is like an immortal format, and like we've been preaching and talking about vinyl record to everyone. So why don't we do this by ourselves? And I think that project kind of like took off very well organically. Everybody involved were kind of like it just fell in place. It kind of came out. The records just arrived 2 days before Soul, so it was a perfect timing. I carried like a Soul tote bag, like pimping out, selling records at this festival without having a stall.
You need to charge him next time, bro.
Yeah. No, Raj has been kind. Yeah. But I think the record, people really appreciated what we did, and we're working on Volume 2. There's Volume 3 as well, which is going to be more experimental and left field. So that will keep us busy for another year or year and a half or so. What we started Mini Festival, we felt like there is again a gap in the city where it's either like massive festivals or like club gigs.
Yeah.
Like there's no kind of in between. 1,000, 1,500 number capacity anybody catering to, and also kind of like Mini Festival was the first one, was a great proof of concept. We built on it. This time we got by Jello, who helped us co-produce the second edition of Mini Festival. So we want to keep it a little more open-ended and keep bringing collaborations together, because that brings fresh idea. And also, you can do so much by yourself. Like when you bring people together, there's a magic that happens. So I think these are the few projects that we want to kind of focus on, laser focus on, and see how it kind of shapes up.
That's beautiful, man, and I'm super excited to see what you guys come up with as well. And like, thank you guys so much for hopping on the panel. I think we can spare maybe 5-10 minutes for anyone in the audience that might want to have questions for. There we go. We got someone with their hands up already.
What was your biggest difference?
I can pass the mic over to you. Yeah. So, I feel like that'd be better.
I want to know what your biggest learning challenge, difference, whatever it is. What stepped up SOLE DXB, the first one, to the second?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Your personal difference between SOLE DXB 1 and the second, in terms of launching a beautiful thing which was art and collaboration and experiment, and then turning it into something which has to become an actual beast.
Yeah, so I would caveat that with the first two Souls. The first one was a film screening. It took place at the Jam Jar, the original Jam Jar in Al Quoz, and no permits. We didn't even know how to get a permit at the time. And then the second one was a block party at Ulster Call, and so they were a different format. I'd say if we start with 2014, that was our first festival format. Going from there to 2015, look, in 2014, nobody would speak to us. Nobody took us seriously. They were like, they're just a bunch of kids, and we're like, we don't understand why it's so hard to get doors open. And it took that happening without the place burning down for all of a sudden, everyone that had shut the door on us in 2014 was like, let's have a chat, And I think, and what we saw was, you have to figure out how to make the first one happen. You just you can't count on like, I have a great idea, can someone come out and pay for it, please? Like, you have to hustle and figure out that one. If you can do it and get the right people in your space, I think that worked. And I think one thing that worked for us, you know, we are in a more commercial space than, for example, what's happening here. Like, we have a lot of brands that are present in our environment. I think what worked for us, because that could have gone horribly wrong, is we said no 9 times out of 10. You know, we were very specific, being like, yes, we need the cash, but we don't need it from you. Like, you know, you got to get it right. And I think you can't lose that over the years. It's very easy just to get a little lazy, to be like, and complacent, to be like, let's just take it, no one's going to notice. So we learned that lesson, and I think that's what helped us build. Also, what was important for us at the time was, you know, if you look in 2014, 15, there were shows happening here. Like, you know, Flash was doing massive shows out in Abu Dhabi. There were still concerts happening. You know, Done Events had their festivals going on. Thomas, who's, you know, doing great work as a promoter out here, was doing the big concerts. But we were never going to be the show that could overpay to bring someone to perform. So we had to build a show that artists want to play, otherwise we wouldn't survive. And so, you know, I think going and making our case, and where we've been fortunate is people come, they've been part of the show, they've gone and they've spread the word, and they've told other people, you guys should go and work with them. And that's how we built the show. That's how we got the momentum. And, you know, it was really making the case and being super straightforward with people, being like, we're trying something different. We think you should come and check it out and be a part of it. So, yeah, that putting on the first one was really what changed it. And then, you know, there were multiple milestones over the years where you got to make changes incrementally. But that first one was the game changer for us.
That's beautiful. That's definitely something. I just took a lot of like insight from them. Like, okay, that's great advice. Is there anyone else? We have time for one more question. There we go.
So the question is basically, we're living today in a time where we're privileged to be at the right place at the right time, when Dubai scene is really growing, and all these efforts that the whole community has put in together is already blossoming. So if today somebody is saying, oh, Dubai is so shallow, it's so fake, like shut the fuck up, it's not true. You gotta come to places like this and enjoy and meet the community. But Raj, also you touched on a point where we all have to scale up and grow. But then how do you also, what is that fine line between also maintaining that genuine connection with the community, such as like we're in this beautiful space today with Secta, it's growing and I'd love to see it. It's so beautiful. So there is these things that we have to keep in mind, that we have to grow as a creative community, as an artist, as whatever it is, but then also at the same time making sure that you stay original to where you started.
Yeah, and I'll let others jump in as well on this. I would say that I don't think you have to grow. And I would say that when we talk about community, you know, let's talk about what that is. There's a group of people that align themselves through music or art or where they're from or the food they eat or the way they dress, right? It's the things that bring us together. It's that fabric. Now, we should be able to have a city that has these businesses where someone can come and say, I'm in it for the right reasons. I'm going to be financially disciplined and run it like a real business. And I'm going to put in the work, and I can make a living doing this. Now, we're far from that right now. Like, if you look at a majority of people, they all have to do 2 or 3 other things with their life, right? Now, to get there, it shouldn't have to be that you have to go to 30,000 people. Like, that's not, you know, not everyone's in it for that. And if you want to do that, great. All the power to you. If not, you should be able to stay in that space. Now, to do that, this is not a one-way street. The people that show up have a responsibility as well. You know, we want people to buy tickets. We want them to spread the word. We want them to be consistent. And we want them to give honest feedback so you can improve the shows you're coming to. You can improve the experiences you're coming to, right? Like, so it's, we all get what we put into it. You know, we're not doing this in a vacuum. We're not doing it on our own. And we're already seeing in places like London, for example, where nightclub after nightclub is shutting down. They simply can't keep up with the rents. You know, people aren't, their main income is people buying drinks, people aren't drinking as much anymore. Like, there's a whole bunch of things going on. We all have to be cognizant of, like, you know, we can put on a show, it doesn't mean anything until you show up. What do we both have to do to build the best possible experience and make it sustainable? And, you know, I hope, I'm very optimistic that we're heading in the right direction. And I think it's easy for people to dismiss the place when they don't know it. But when you come and you spend time, again, like, you know, in 20 years, I've had a lot of ups and downs where, you know, I was down on the place in 2017, being like, are we missing out on creative opportunities in other places because we're here? And we don't feel that way at all anymore. We finally feel detached from other markets where we're like, we're going to build our own thing. And we've got enough people here that are interested in coming and supporting. So, yeah, you know, I think regardless of the size you're at, everyone's going to face those same dynamics.
All right, awesome, man. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. All right, perfect. With that, I think we ran out of time with this conversation, but I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone on the panel, Osama, Ella, Raj, Jayesh, of course, Secta as well, for giving us the opportunity to have Karak Conversations over here. My name is Faizal. I'm the creative director and co-founder of the Karak. If you guys want to see snippets of this video, you should definitely just follow us and you'll see the videos pop up in probably the next week. For the people that weren't able to be here, so send it to them. And yeah, with that, thank you guys so much. And we're going to be moving on next, but before that, you want to say something?
I just wanted to say a massive thank you from me, and I'm sure all of us, to Karak and also to Secta for bringing this panel together, in all honesty, because it's really nice to sit and talk about something meaningful. So thank you to you guys, just from us, for letting us sit here and yap for the last half an hour. I don't know.
No, I think it's important. I feel like we're usually people behind the scenes, and like we don't get to really share our experiences. And I think just having people experience that will understand that there's a human element to everything that we do. So I think it's very important. But thank you guys again. We're going to be moving on next to open conversation with Kirill, Zan, and Jules Lovett. So stay tuned. We're